The worst part about watching prey get devoured is knowing you could stop it, but choosing not to. That is what I told myself every morning as I watched the small one arrive at the Galactic Academy with terror already painted across her features. My name is Vorshak. I am Kryn. We are a species built for observation, not intervention. Our 4 eyes can process movement across 17 different spectrums. Our auditory membranes can detect distress calls from 3 solar systems away, and our moral framework is apparently designed to let us sleep at night while atrocities unfold in high definition. The human female was called Maya Torres. She stood barely 5 feet tall in your measurement system, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders and eyes the color of Earth's oceans before pollution killed them. Well, before pollution killed most things, actually. Humans have a talent for destruction that extends far beyond what they do to each other. Maya arrived at the Academy 6 lunar cycles ago. She was part of the Human Integration Program, one of 40 humans scattered across 12 different educational facilities throughout the Galactic Collective. The program was supposed to prove that humans could function in civilized society, that they weren't just the violent barbarians their war history suggested. The bullying started on day 3. Rexel and his crew were Horthians, large, reptilian, with scales that shifted between green and black depending on their mood. Their species had dominated the Eastern Quadrant for generations through a combination of military might and strategic aggression. They were not accustomed to being challenged. They were not accustomed to being told no. And they absolutely were not accustomed to humans. "Look at the soft skin!" Rexol's voice boomed across the common area that first morning. His 3 companions laughed. It was the kind of laughter that makes your organs clench. "Does it bruise easily? Should we test it?" Maya kept walking. Her shoulders were rigid, her pace steady. She was trying very hard to disappear, while simultaneously refusing to run. Fascinating, really. That human contradiction. I was standing near the nutrition dispensary, pretending to review my data tablet while my upper left eye tracked every movement. The other students were doing what students do. They were looking away. They were pretending not to notice. They were protecting themselves from the guilt of witnessing. Rexol moved faster than Maya expected. His tail whipped out and caught her ankle. She went down hard. Her supply pack scattered across the floor. Books, data chips, a small photograph of what I assumed were her family members. The laughter grew louder. "My apologies!" Rexol's voice dripped with false concern. "I did not see you there. You are so small, like an insect. Easy to step on." Maya did not cry. She gathered her belongings with shaking hands. A thin line of blue blood leaked from her knee, where it had struck the floor. Human blood is red, but the lighting in that corridor made everything look wrong. She stood up. She met Rexol's eyes, and she walked away. I went to class. I took notes. I did absolutely nothing. This continued for weeks. The attacks grew more creative, more cruel. Rexol and his friends would trip her in hallways. They would contaminate her food in the dining facility. They would hack her personal terminal and broadcast her private messages across the Academy network. They would corner her in empty corridors and describe in detail what they wanted to do to her soft human flesh. The administration knew. Of course they knew. But Maya never filed a formal complaint. And without a formal complaint, they could maintain plausible ignorance. The Galactic Collective is very good at procedures, very good at paperwork, very good at looking the other way when intervention would be uncomfortable. I watched her deteriorate in real time. The first week, she held her head high. The second week, her shoulders began to slump. By the 4th week, she was arriving early to avoid the crowds and leaving late to avoid the same. She stopped eating in the dining facility. She stopped attending social gatherings. She stopped existing anywhere, except where absolutely required. Her grades remained perfect. Somehow, through all of it, her grades remained absolutely perfect. During our shared astrophysics course, Professor Kelman assigned us to paired research projects. Maya was assigned to work with me. When the pairing was announced, I saw something flicker across her face. Not hope, exactly. Maybe just the ghost of where hope used to live. "You do not have to work with me," she said quietly, when we met in the library. "I can do both portions. You can put your name on it. I do not care." I had 4 eyes trained on her. All 4 saw the same thing: exhaustion. The kind that comes from fighting a war nobody else acknowledges exists. "That would be academically dishonest," I replied. "My species values honesty. We just don't value it enough to act on it when action is difficult." She almost smiled. "Right. Academic honesty. That is very important here." We worked in silence for the first hour. Maya's knowledge of quantum field theory was remarkable. She could calculate tensor equations in her head that took me 3 attempts with computer assistance. Humans were not supposed to be good at higher mathematics. Their brains were too primitive, too emotional, too limited. Apparently, nobody told Maya that. "Why do you let them hurt you?" The question escaped before I could stop it. My species does not ask personal questions. We observe from distance. We maintain professional boundaries. Maya's hands stopped moving across her data tablet. For a long moment, she was perfectly still. "Because filing a complaint will make it worse," she said finally. "Because involving adults who do not care will make it worse. Because fighting back will prove I am exactly what they think humans are: violent, uncontrolled, unsuitable for civilized society." She looked up at me. Her eyes were dry. "I am supposed to be an ambassador for my species. If I fail, if I wash out, it affects every other human in the program. So I endure. I survive. I wait for it to end. And if it does not end, then I endure longer." This was not logical. This was not strategic. This was, however, remarkably human. The attack that changed everything happened on the 63rd day. I know because I was counting. Not for any noble reason. Just because my species counts things. It is what we do. The recreation complex has a zero-gravity exercise chamber. It is popular among species that evolved in low-gravity environments. Maya went there 3 times per week, early in the morning before most students were awake. She thought she was safe in the early hours. She was wrong. I was in the observation gallery, reviewing footage from a previous night's astronomical event, when I heard the commotion. My auditory membranes picked up sounds of struggle. Multiple voices. One voice trying very hard not to scream. I should have looked away. I should have left. I should have done what every instinct in my body was screaming at me to do. Instead, I accessed the live security feed. The chamber was designed for recreation, not combat. But Rexall had turned it into an arena. He and his 3 companions had Maya pinned against the wall. In zero gravity, she could not leverage her weight, could not run, could not do anything except try to protect herself, while 4 beings larger than her took turns demonstrating exactly how powerless she was. "This is what humans are good for." Rexall's voice was almost cheerful. "You exist to be conquered, to be dominated. Your entire species exists because you breed quickly, not because you have value." One of his companions grabbed Maya's arm. There was a sound like branches breaking. Maya's face went white. She bit her lip so hard it bled, but she did not scream. "Break the other one," Rexall suggested casually. "See if these wings can be repaired or if we need to start fresh with another specimen." That is when something happened that I did not expect, that nobody expected. Maya stopped defending. She stopped protecting her broken arm. She stopped curling inward. Instead, she went very, very still. And then she smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was not the kind of smile that appears in diplomatic photographs or cultural exchange programs. It was the kind of smile that apex predators wear right before they remind you why fear exists. You know what is funny? Her voice was conversational, almost friendly. Every species in this facility knows about human history. You all read about our wars, our violence, our spectacular talent for creative destruction. And you all decided that, because I am small, because I am polite, because I follow rules, that I am not that kind of human. She twisted in their grip. Her broken arm hung useless, but her legs were working just fine. In zero gravity, she did not need to stand. She just needed to move. The first kick caught the Horthian holding her left side directly in his throat. Humans have remarkably strong legs. Evolution designed them to run from predators, but running muscles work equally well for kicking. He released her immediately, gasping, clawing at his neck. Maya used the momentum to spin. Her right elbow connected with another Horthian's face. There was a crunch. Blue blood sprayed in zero gravity, forming perfect spheres that drifted like tiny planets. I followed your rules. Her voice was rising now. I filed no complaints. I endured your torture. I let you break me down piece by piece because I thought being civilized meant accepting abuse with grace. The third Horthian grabbed for her. She caught his arm, used her legs to brace against his chest, and broke his wrist with a sharp twist. The sound echoed through the chamber. But you made a mistake. She was panting now, her broken arm cradled against her chest, her eyes wild with pain and fury and something else. Something that looked like freedom. You forgot that humans are not civilized because we cannot be violent. We are civilized because we choose not to be. And you just made me stop choosing. Rexall was the largest, the strongest, the leader. He came at her with full force, all teeth and claws and confidence that his size would win. Maya waited until the last possible second. Then she used the zero gravity to her advantage. She pushed off the wall, went horizontal, and drove both feet into his stomach. The impact sent him spinning. She followed, using his own momentum against him. Her good hand found his throat. Her legs wrapped around his torso. You wanted to see what humans are capable of? She was whispering now, but in the silence of the chamber, her words carried perfectly. Congratulations. You succeeded. She squeezed. Rexall thrashed. His superior size meant nothing without leverage. His claws raked across her sides, tearing through her uniform, through her skin. She did not let go. His face was changing colors, from green to black to something approaching purple. Maya. My voice surprised me. I had accessed the chamber's communication system. I was speaking to her. I was intervening. Maya, if you kill him, you will be expelled. Your species will lose their place in the program. She looked up, found the camera, found me. I know, she said, and squeezed harder. For 3.7 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The entire academy seemed to hold its collective breath, while a 5-foot-tall human decided whether proving a point was worth sacrificing everything. Then she released him, pushed away, floated in the center of the chamber, with blood leaking from a dozen wounds, her arm bent at an impossible angle, and that terrible smile still fixed on her face. But I could have, she said softly. Remember that. I could have. I chose not to. This time. Security arrived 4 minutes later. They found 4 Horthians in need of medical attention and 1 human bleeding profusely while maintaining perfect eye contact with anyone who looked at her. The administration tried to make it disappear, tried to classify it as a recreational accident, tried to paint Maya as the aggressor, the violent human who proved exactly what everyone suspected about her species. But I had the security footage, all of it, from every angle, every moment of torture leading up to the incident, every cruel word, every broken rule that the administration had ignored. I sent it to every news outlet in the collective, every diplomatic channel, every human embassy, and I included a note. Just one sentence, really. This is what happens when civilized beings decide that silence is safer than justice. The story spread like radiation. Within 24 hours, every being in the collective had seen the footage, had watched a small human endure weeks of torture, before finally, violently, beautifully refusing to endure any more. 3 days later, I was summoned before the Academy Council. They sat behind an enormous curved desk, 12 representatives from 12 different species, all looking at me with expressions that ranged from anger to confusion to something that might have been respect. "You violated multiple privacy protocols," Councilmember Thex began. "Her species values order above all else. You distributed sensitive material without authorization. You have brought shame upon this institution." "I documented the truth," I replied. "My species does not lie well. We do not lie at all, actually." "Would you prefer I had documented something false?" The human ambassador was present, Ambassador Williams. She was older, gray hair, lines around her eyes that suggested she had smiled frequently in her youth. She was not smiling now. "Where is Maya Torres?" she asked quietly. "Medical bay," another council member answered. "Her injuries were extensive. Broken arm, 3 broken ribs, lacerations requiring 47 stitches. She will recover." "And the Horthians?" "Also recovering, though their injuries were somewhat more severe." Ambassador Williams stood. She was not particularly tall, but somehow she seemed to fill the room. "My government appreciates Vorshak's actions," she said. Each word was carefully chosen, carefully delivered. "We have been attempting to address concerns about student safety through official channels for months. Those concerns were ignored. My government believes that transparency serves everyone's interests." Translation: "You ignored us, so we will destroy you publicly." Humans are excellent at public destruction. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Politics makes everyone uncomfortable except politicians. "The Horthian government is demanding Maya Torres be expelled and criminally charged," Thex continued. "They claim their students were exercising appropriate social dominance within established hierarchies." "Interesting," Ambassador Williams replied. Her tone suggested it was not interesting at all. "My government believes that established hierarchies, which require daily torture to maintain, might not be hierarchies worth maintaining." The meeting continued for 2 hours. Threats were made. Diplomatic relationships were questioned. At one point, someone suggested this incident could lead to humanity withdrawing from the collective entirely. Nobody wanted that. Humans were annoying, yes. Violent, absolutely. But they were also brilliant engineers, creative problem solvers, and disturbingly good at warfare. Nobody wanted them as enemies. In the end, a compromise was reached. Maya would face no charges. The Horthians would face no charges. The Academy would implement new anti-bullying protocols. Everyone would pretend to be satisfied. Except Maya, who was sitting in the medical bay with her arm in a regeneration cast and absolutely no intention of pretending anything. I visited her 3 days after the incident. She was alone, staring out the viewport at the stars beyond. "Thank you," she said, without turning around, "for recording everything, for sending it out, for actually doing something. I should have acted sooner." "Yes." She finally looked at me. Her face was healing, but still showed bruises across 3 different color spectrums. You should have. But you acted eventually. That is more than most beings manage. We sat in silence for several minutes. It was not uncomfortable. Humans are surprisingly good at silence. Will you stay? I asked finally. At the academy? Maya smiled. It was not the terrible smile from the chamber. This one was smaller, sadder, more real. Yes, she said. I will stay. I will finish my education. I will be the perfect ambassador for humanity. She paused. But they will never touch me again. And if they try, I will not stop next time. I will not choose civilization. I will choose survival. And I will make sure everyone knows the difference. I believed her. Every species in the collective believed her. That is the thing about humans. They can be remarkably civilized, remarkably patient, remarkably kind, right up until the moment they decide to remind you what they actually are beneath all that civilization. Prey animals that evolved into apex predators. And apex predators never forget how to hunt. The academy returned to normal with the kind of forced cheerfulness that follows public scandals. New protocols were implemented. Sensitivity training was mandated. Everyone walked on eggshells around the small human who had proven that eggshells were not sufficient protection. Maya returned to classes after 1 week. Her arm was still healing, encased in a regeneration sleeve that hummed softly with medical nanites. She walked differently now, not with fear, not with submission, with the careful awareness of someone who has drawn a line in the sand and dared the universe to cross it. Nobody crossed it. Rexall and his companions were transferred to a different facility. Officially, it was for their own safety. Unofficially, the Horthian government wanted them far away from cameras before Maya decided to finish what she started. The remaining Horthian students gave her a wide berth. Actually, most students gave her a wide berth. Fear is a powerful social lubricant. But fear alone does not build understanding. It just builds distance. And distance was not what Ambassador Williams wanted. 3 weeks after the incident, she arrived at the academy with a proposal. I was present for the meeting, having been appointed as Maya's official academic liaison. Apparently, leaking security footage makes you either a criminal or a hero, depending on who is writing the report. The human government wrote very flattering reports. The collective is scared, Ambassador Williams began without preamble. We were in Conference Room 7, which had excellent acoustics and terrible furniture. They are scared of what Maya represents. They are scared of what humanity represents, and scared beings make terrible decisions. They should be scared, Maya said flatly. Her ocean-colored eyes were fixed on the ambassador. They tortured me for 2 months. The only reason I am alive is because I got angry enough to fight back. That is not a system that deserves comfort. Agreed. Williams smiled. It was a diplomatic smile, which meant it revealed nothing. But we need allies, not enemies. And right now, we are very close to being surrounded by enemies. I had been reviewing the political situation. My species excels at data analysis. The numbers were not encouraging. 17 member species had filed formal protests about human aggression. 9 had suggested humanity's membership be suspended. 3 had quietly begun moving military assets closer to human-controlled space. Humans had been part of the Galactic Collective for only 5 years. Their probationary period would not end for another 7. If they were expelled now, it would confirm every prejudice, every fear, every whispered concern about their violent nature. "What do you propose?" I asked. Williams pulled up a holographic display. It showed the Academy's student body broken down by species, homeworld, and social integration metrics. Humans were clustered at the bottom of every positive category and the top of every negative one. "We need to change the narrative," she said. Maya proved humans can fight. Now we need to prove humans can do more than fight. We need to prove we belong here. How? Maya's voice was sharp. By smiling while they break us? By pretending everything is fine? I tried that. It did not work. No, by showing them what humanity actually is. Williams turned to face Maya directly. You were trying to be what they expected. Quiet, compliant, unthreatening. But that is not what humans are. We are loud. We are stubborn. We are absolutely threatening when necessary. But we are also creative, compassionate, and surprisingly good at making friends with beings that want to kill us. She was not wrong. Human history was filled with examples of humans befriending predators. They domesticated wolves into dogs. They rode horses that could crush their skulls with a single kick. They kept cats, which were essentially tiny murder machines with excellent public relations. You want me to make friends? Maya's tone suggested she would rather eat broken glass. I want you to be human, Williams corrected. Fully human. Not the sanitized version. Not the diplomatic version. The real version. Messy, complicated, and absolutely impossible to ignore. Maya was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer. And if they reject me anyway? Then they reject us, knowing exactly what they are losing. Williams stood. But I do not think they will. Because humans have one advantage that no other species possesses. What is that? We are incredibly difficult to kill, and even harder to break. And beings respect strength, especially when that strength chooses mercy. The plan was simple in concept, nightmarishly complex in execution. Maya would host a series of cultural exchange events. She would share human food, human music, human stories. She would invite students from every species to participate. She would make humanity impossible to ignore and equally impossible to dismiss. The first event was a disaster. Maya had reserved the main social hall and prepared food from 7 different Earth cultures: pasta from Italy, sushi from Japan, tacos from Mexico, curry from India. The variety was impressive. The attendance was not. 12 students showed up out of 3,000, and 3 of those 12 were humans from other integration programs who had traveled specifically to support her. Maya stood behind tables laden with food that nobody was eating, wearing a smile that looked like it was carved from stone. I watched from the corner, documenting everything with my usual detachment. Except, I was not feeling detached. I was feeling something uncomfortably close to anger. This is humiliating, Maya said quietly when I approached. I am standing here like an idiot, pretending anyone cares about human culture. Perhaps the food is not the right approach. Then what is? She gestured at the empty hall. What do I do when an entire civilization has decided I am not worth their time? Before I could answer, something unexpected happened. A Quellen student named Pip entered the hall. Quellens are small, roughly 2 feet tall, with crystalline bodies that refract light in beautiful patterns. They are prey species, constantly alert, constantly afraid. Pip had been in several of Maya's classes but had never spoken to her. Pip approached the food tables slowly, every movement telegraphing nervousness. Is this safe for Quellen biology? Pip's voice was high-pitched, musical. The sushi. Our digestive systems can process raw proteins, but only from certain environments. Maya blinked. Then she smiled. A real smile this time. Let me check. She pulled out her data tablet and spent 5 minutes cross-referencing Earth fish biology with Quellen dietary requirements. When she finished, she had identified 3 types of sushi that would be perfectly safe and 2 that might actually provide beneficial nutrients. Try this one. Maya offered a piece of salmon roll. It has similar protein chains to your homeworld's primary food source, and this one has seaweed, which your species should find particularly tasty. Pip took the food cautiously. Ate. Waited. Then ate 3 more pieces in rapid succession. This is excellent. The crystals in Pip's body were glowing brighter, which I had learned indicated pleasure. Why have I never experienced Earth food before? Because nobody bothered to check if it was safe for you, Maya said simply. But I did. Because that is what humans do. We adapt. We include. We make room at the table. Pip stayed for 45 minutes. By the end, Pip had tried food from 6 different cultures and was asking detailed questions about human agriculture, human history, human music. When Pip finally left, it was with a promise to return for the next event and to bring friends. 1 student out of 3,000. But it was a start. The second event had 27 attendees. The third had 64. By the 5th event, the social hall was completely full, and Maya had to start turning beings away. What changed? Word spread. Not about the food, though the food was apparently quite good. About Maya herself. About how she spent hours researching each species' dietary requirements. About how she learned basic phrases in 17 different languages. About how she remembered everyone's names, everyone's interests, everyone's stories. Humans are social creatures. They are built to form connections. And Maya was demonstrating exactly how effective those connections could be when applied with intelligence and genuine care. But not everyone was pleased with her success. The Vortan Collective was a political organization representing species that viewed humanity as a threat to galactic stability. They were not violent. They did not need to be. They had influence, resources, and a very clear agenda. Remove humans from the collective by any means necessary. Their representative at the Academy was a being named Quilix. Quilix was Manthari, a species known for complex political maneuvering and absolutely no sense of humor. Quilix approached me after Maya's 8th cultural event with a proposal I found deeply disturbing. "Your human is making progress," Quilix began. We were in the library, speaking in low tones. "That is unfortunate for certain parties." "Maya is succeeding because she is genuinely connecting with other students," I replied. "That is what integration means." Integration implies equality. Many species do not view humans as equals. They view humans as weapons, pretending to be civilized. Maya has proven she can be both. Quilix made a sound that might have been laughter. Exactly. That is the problem. A weapon that thinks for itself is far more dangerous than one that simply follows programming. "What do you want, Quilix?" "I want you to stop helping her. Stop documenting her successes. Stop providing academic support. Let her fail, naturally. And if I refuse? Then we will help her fail unnaturally. And I promise you, Vorshak, an unnatural failure will be far more destructive than what we are suggesting." This was a threat. A clear, unambiguous threat against a student I was assigned to protect. My species values observation, but we also value our assigned responsibilities. I had a choice to make. I chose poorly, or perhaps correctly. Morality becomes confusing when all options are terrible. I told Maya everything. We met in the observation deck late at night, when the stars were visible through the primary viewport. Maya listened to my recounting of the conversation without interruption. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "They want me gone," she said finally. "They are scared of what I represent. They are scared of what happens when other species see humans as more than threats. If you succeed here, if you prove humanity belongs, it changes everything. So they will destroy me to preserve their narrative." She laughed, but it was not a happy sound. How predictable. You could leave, transfer to another facility. Let this situation resolve itself without you. No, her voice was firm. I will not run. I will not hide. I will not give them the satisfaction of watching me fail. Then what will you do? Maya turned to face me. In the starlight, her features looked alien. Not human at all. Something older. Something that had survived by refusing to surrender. I will do what humans always do, she said. I will make allies. I will build something they cannot tear down. And I will remind them that humanity did not survive by being the strongest, or the fastest, or the smartest. We survived by being the most stubborn. Over the next 3 weeks, Maya transformed from event organizer into something far more dangerous. She became a community builder. She started a study group for students struggling with advanced mathematics. Within days, it included beings from 14 different species. She organized recreational activities that accommodated different biology types. She mediated disputes between students who did not share languages. She became, essentially, the social center of the academy without holding any official position or authority. And Quilix hated every moment of it. The attack came during the annual academic symposium. Each student was required to present research findings before the entire academy. Maya had chosen to present on human methods of conflict resolution, focusing on restorative justice models. It was a deliberate choice, a challenge, a statement that humans understood violence but chose other options when possible. Her presentation was scheduled for third position, mid-morning when attendance would be highest. I arrived early to ensure the audio-visual systems were functioning properly. That is when I noticed the sabotage. Someone had modified Maya's presentation files. Not obviously. Not in ways that would trigger security protocols, but enough to make her look incompetent. Statistics were inverted. Citations were deleted. Entire sections of her argument were rewritten to contradict themselves. I had approximately 7 minutes to decide what to do. I could tell Maya and postpone her presentation. I could repair the files myself. I could do nothing and let events unfold. I chose option 4. I documented everything and sent it directly to Ambassador Williams with a simple message. They are trying to destroy her credibility. I hope you have a backup plan. Williams responded immediately, We do. Let it happen. Maya's presentation began exactly on schedule. She walked to the podium with confidence, activated her display, and began speaking. Within 30 seconds, it was obvious something was wrong. Her statistics did not match her arguments. Her citations referenced research that contradicted her conclusions. The audience began murmuring. Maya stopped talking. She looked at her display. Then she looked at the audience. Then she smiled that terrible smile I had seen once before. This is not my presentation, she said calmly. Someone has sabotaged my work. Which is interesting, because it means someone is scared of what I plan to say. The murmuring grew louder. Several professors were standing, demanding explanations. Security was moving toward the exits. But that is fine. Maya closed the corrupted presentation. Because I do not need slides to tell you what I have learned here. I learned that most species talk about unity while practicing division. I learned that civilized behavior means following rules until those rules become inconvenient. I learned that strength is respected, but compassion is viewed as weakness. She stepped away from the podium, moving to the center of the stage where everyone could see her clearly. I also learned that humans are not the only ones who are tired of this system. Over the past month, I have spoken with hundreds of students from dozens of species. And you know what they told me? They are tired of hierarchies based on violence. They are tired of bullying disguised as social dominance. They are tired of watching injustice happen while administrators maintain plausible deniability. The hall was completely silent now. 3,000 students and faculty, all focused on one small human who was systematically dismantling decades of institutional pretense. So, here is my actual presentation. Maya gestured to the audience. Stand up if you have been bullied at this academy. Stand up if you have been harassed, threatened, or hurt while authority figures did nothing. For 5 seconds, nobody moved. Then Pip stood up. Then 2 Quellen students near the back. Then a Vaxian. Then a Drellian. Then dozens more. Then hundreds. By the time the movement stopped, nearly a third of the audience was standing. Faculty members looked horrified. Administrators were frantically accessing communication devices, and Maya stood at the center of it all, absolutely calm. That is my presentation, she said quietly. That is what I learned. That suffering is universal. That courage is universal. And that change only happens when someone is brave enough to say the truth out loud. She walked off the stage without waiting for questions or approval. The symposium dissolved into chaos immediately. Students were arguing with faculty. Faculty were arguing with administrators. Security was trying to restore order while having no idea what order should look like. I found Maya in the corridor outside. She was leaning against the wall, breathing hard, looking like she might collapse or explode, or both. That was extraordinarily risky, I said. I know. She was smiling, though. But Williams told me once that humans survive by being stubborn. So I decided to be as stubborn as possible. What happens now? Now? Maya straightened up. Now we find out if the Galactic Collective values truth more than comfort. And if they don't, then maybe humanity doesn't belong here after all. The fallout was immediate and severe. Quilix demanded Mia be expelled. The Vortan Collective filed formal complaints. Several conservative species threatened to withdraw from the Academy entirely. But something else happened too. Students organized. The beings who had stood during Maya's presentation formed a coalition. They called themselves the Unity Movement, and their demands were simple. Enforce existing anti-bullying policies, create transparent reporting mechanisms, hold faculty accountable for negligence. They were loud. They were persistent. And they were absolutely impossible to ignore. The Galactic Collective Council met in emergency session. Ambassador Williams attended, along with representatives from 47 member species. The debate lasted 11 hours. I watched the live feed from beginning to end, documenting every argument, every vote, every moment that would determine humanity's future. In the end, the vote was closer than anyone expected. By a margin of just 4 votes, the Council decided that Maya's actions, while unorthodox, were not grounds for expulsion. More importantly, they voted to implement the Unity Movement's demands across all collective facilities. Humanity's probationary status was extended for review, but they were not expelled. They had earned the right to stay, to prove themselves, to keep trying. Maya graduated from the Galactic Academy 2 years later with highest honors. She gave a speech at commencement that was broadcast across the entire collective. She talked about resilience, about change, about choosing civilization while never forgetting how to fight. I was there, of course, documenting everything, observing from my usual distance, except the distance did not feel right anymore. Somewhere during those 2 years, I had stopped being an observer and become something else. A friend, perhaps. Or at least a being who understood that observation without action is just cowardice with better vocabulary. After the ceremony, Maya found me in the crowd. "Thank you," she said, "for everything. For recording the truth. For supporting me. For being brave when I needed someone to be brave. I simply documented what happened." "No." She shook her head. You chose what to document. You chose when to act. You chose to help. That is not simple. That is the hardest thing any being can do. She hugged me. Humans do that. They express affection through physical contact. My species finds it uncomfortable. I found it less uncomfortable than expected. "What will you do now?" I asked when she released me. Maya looked up at the stars visible through the domed ceiling. Her ocean eyes reflected light from 1,000 distant suns. "I will do what humans always do," she said. "I will find the next impossible situation. I will make it slightly less impossible. And I will remind the universe that humanity belongs here, not because we are perfect, but because we refuse to quit." She left that day, transferred to the Human Diplomatic Corps. Last I heard, she was negotiating trade agreements on the Outer Rim, charming species that had never met humans before, making friends with beings that logically should be enemies. The Academy is different now. Better, I think. The Unity movement continues. Students support each other. Faculty actually enforce their own rules. Bullying still happens, because cruelty is universal, but it happens less. And when it does happen, beings stand up. They speak out. They remember what one small human taught them about the cost of silence. I am still here, still observing, still documenting, but I act now when action is required. I have learned that observation alone is not enough. That knowledge without application is just data without meaning. And sometimes, late at night when the stars are brightest, I think about what Maya proved. Not that humans are stronger than everyone else, not that humans are more violent, but that humans are more stubborn than the universe expects. And that stubbornness, combined with compassion and an absolute refusal to accept injustice, might be the most dangerous weapon any species possesses. They broke her wings each morning. And one morning, she stopped having wings to break. She became something else. Something that could not be broken. Something that reminded us all what it means to choose courage over comfort. That is the human paradox. They are prey that evolved into predators, but they never forgot how it feels to be prey. And that memory, that understanding, makes them the most unexpected allies and the most terrifying enemies. I am glad they chose to be allies. I am glad Maya chose to stay. I am glad I chose to help. Because in the end, that is what civilization actually means. Not following rules, not maintaining order, but choosing every single day to be better than our worst instincts suggest. To help when helping is hard, to stand when standing is dangerous, to speak when silence is safer. Maya taught me that. One small human who refused to be broken, who refused to quit, who reminded an entire galaxy that belonging is not given. It is earned. And humanity has earned their place here, one stubborn choice at a time.